Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 250th episode of Goals Do Come True. I thought I would have an extra special guest. Jason, my son, is joining me today, and he's just had his 36th birthday. So I thought I would see how goals affect a younger generation. So I thought I'd invite him along, celebrate the episode, and find out what the kids are doing these days when it comes to goals and goal setting. So, Jason, thanks for joining me on this. I think is your first ever podcast.
Yes, it is, actually.
Excellent. Okay, well, he's not normally this shy. Well, he is actually, because I can go back. I'm going to start the show off with why I was disappointed with him, because you know you got to do that, right? And I run a financial services business, and way back in the day, I thought, well, this would be great. I can get Jason involved in my business because he's pretty smart, you know, he's got maths degree and all that malarkey, and he's big into computers. And he said, there's just one problem, Dad, with me joining your business. I don't like people, which was obviously rather disappointing at the time. But now we've got AI going, and we're going to delve into that and his thoughts on that. Maybe he could do all the computery stuff in the background and not have to talk to people. And maybe my goal of having my son in my business might come true one day. But anyway, Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself. I think we could start with goals and how it affects, you know, the mid-30s these days. Do they actually have goals, or are you going to be fairly unique as you're the son of the goals guy?
So I have obviously spoken to you about this in the past, like all while growing up. And my other half is very much more a goal setter, 5-year plan, look ahead. And I was always a bit, I just want to enjoy life, live in the moment, get things as they come and sort of not worry about what's happening in 5 years. And then not necessarily one thing led to another, but I was kind of like feeling a bit sort of lost. And I was like, you know what? I've got nothing much to listen to at the moment. Let's chuck on my dad's podcast. And it really sort of started to resonate. And I was like, oh no, actually, like these people are sort of, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, normal people just with goals, and they like having goals. So I was like, you know what, let's set some goals. So I did for a long time, sort of, to say, like, thought it was a bit woo-woo, and that it takes more than just having goals to achieve them and feel fulfilled. And it does, but it's a very good first step.
Okay, so when you say it was, you just figured it was a bit woo-woo.
Yes.
It's like, that's not your thing then, being
no. So again, I very much was like, I logically think about things and look at, if I do this, then this is what happens. If I do that, that's what happens. And sort of compounding effects of action rather than thinking about things happening because they happen. But I've also picked up little things that we've talked about before. So I know one thing is, for example, decluttering is a good example, where if you take it to the charity shop, then you let good sort of energy go out into the world and it might come back around. But if you sell that stuff, then the karma that you've sort of released into the world is instant, and because you've sold something for money rather than giving it away and stuff like that. So like, I've kind of taken that on, whether I believe it or not, and kind of gone, well, actually, no, like if I give this away, then maybe something will happen one day. But if I sell it now, then the gratification is there and then, not later. So even though like I logically think about things throughout my life, I've kind of picked up some woo-woo. I love this term. It's such a fun way to describe things.
Woo-woo. It is
Woo-woo.
good. Woo-woo. And actually, you know, there's more science being taken into it about different layers, different levels of energy. And, you know, if you vibrate at a certain level, the word for it escapes me at the moment, but there's a lot more work being done on it scientifically to demonstrate that actually there's something in it.
Yes.
But I just saw your face there, and I wasn't sure
I was trying
whether
to think of the word. No, I was trying to think of the word because I think I've heard the word as well from your podcast, probably.
Yeah, it will come. So so you listen to my podcast, and that is like, that was a very proud moment when I
Without
heard
telling
that.
you.
Yes, well, this is it. You know, it was only like when we had a conversation and you dropped in something, and you know, it was like, oh my goodness, that was quite far in, and you've listened from the beginning. That's the other
Yes.
thing. So that's quite exciting. So I've got one extra follower for the podcast, which I'm very, very pleased about, and obviously, eventually, he'll get to the 250th episode
And then have to listen back.
and have to listen back. Probably cringe, because we all cringe when we, you know, the first time we do something, it just doesn't seem to, you know,
Yeah.
it's a bit weird. So do you think, I mean, you're looking around your friends, the people in your peer
Yes.
group, do they have goals, do you think?
So I know my other half does have goals. I don't know what they are actually, but a lot of my friends don't really talk about their goals if they have them. So a lot of people will kind of go, "Oh, I want a new job," and that's sort of as deep as it gets. That is it. So it's not really something that at least my peers talk about.
Okay, would
I
you
know.
say, go on.
I was going to say at work, more people at work sort of have goals. They're sort of the average age at my office is a bit older than sort of me. So people in the early 40s do have more goals. And I guess maybe it's a I hit 40 thing, or a looking forward to retirement thing, and really trying to sort of, like, we've got an age of internet, and as you say, ChatGPT can help you do anything. You just ask it a question and it can like give you advice, well, bare bones advice. So yeah, I think people are starting to get more switched on with how they can plan their life out.
Now, it's interesting. Something you said there is like, you know, your other half has goals, but you don't know what they are.
Yes.
Now, there's two things about that. There's good and bad. Now, the good thing is having your own personal goals means that they're yours and they're not being influenced by somebody else, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Not sharing them with somebody means that you're missing out on an element of it, which could be accountability.
Yes.
But it also means that there may be not any shared goals in there.
Yes.
And one more thing is like, you might be diagrammatically opposite in what you want to achieve. You know, that is, you know, and I've got more world experience than you naturally, because I've had 30 plus years more on the planet. No, not quite actually.
No,
But anyway,
it'll be 29, 28, 27 maybe.
Yeah, 27 years. Yeah, look at us, right? You're the maths genius, and I'm a financial advisor, and we can't work out our age difference. Easy done. So that would be a thing. I would maybe consider sharing.
So I've shared my goals with Mark.
Right.
I haven't asked him what his are.
Okay. No, that's fair enough.
But I do have some shared goals. So,
well, that's good. That's good. Now, what would you say? I mean, it's difficult if you haven't had a big old conversation with your peers about goals, but you think that they've got them. I want this, but it's superficial. Have you ever considered delving into it and digging deeper with them to, create a deeper relationship and maybe hold them accountable in that regard?
I haven't considered it. However, I hate, because this is where I get most of my knowledge. I saw a post on Instagram where someone was talking about, we don't talk about money enough as a society, and as British people we don't talk about a lot of things because it's a taboo. And they just kind of said, you just like a small conversation where you say a money win, not loss, that's not quite the right word, but like an embarrassed, guilt-free kind of, I fucked up a bit with this one thing, and then sharing ideas about how to save and like things that you're doing and things that you've heard. So I've read a book on money recently, and I've read I can't remember another one about the highly effective habits of people, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos on finances and stuff. So I've picked up lots of little nuggets of information which I quite like, and I just sent this this Instagram to our group chat, and they were like, oh my god, let's do this. So now on next week, we're meeting up, which we were planning on doing anyway, but now we're like, oh no, let's talk about money. Let's talk about tips and tricks and fun, and like, let's delve into the stuff that we don't want to talk about as British people or people of the world. And like I was shocked how receptive they were to such a bizarre almost concept that actually I think maybe extending it to goals and life planning and all this stuff is not going to be that difficult. I think people are open for discussions, and you don't necessarily realise.
And that's the thing, if you don't ask people things, you can't possibly know what their opinion is.
Yes.
So it is worth having that conversation. And I think it might be a useful thing. I'm of the belief that if you do have goals, something to go for, then, there's a good chance you will be less affected mentally in a detrimental manner. If you've got a more positive outlook, you've got something to look forward to, it's more glass half full than it is glass half empty in that regard. Because, there is a lot of talk of, I'm going to say youngsters, I mean, you're not young now. Younger generations have lots of mental issues, if we can say that. There seems to be a lot of stuff going on that they're finding difficult to cope with. What would you say was, sort of common things that people have struggled with that maybe we should be addressing more deeply?
So a lot of people, I think, don't realise their worth. So, and I know it's completely not easy, especially nowadays, to find new jobs because the market is flooded with bots and AI, and a lot of jobs that would traditionally get 100 applicants now get tens of thousands, and it's crazy. But a lot of people stay stuck and don't have the confidence to kind of really life shift. So I've got a friend who has stayed in the same job for a long time. They're very unhappy with their job. And I was also in the same position. It's very hard to move, but I did eventually move. And I'm like, I want to go, it's easy. Well, it's not easy. It's simple. Moving will help. And I know you have to start again a bit. But actually, if you're happier, it really makes a difference. But people don't kind of fight for themselves, I think. So she's being underpaid for what she could get elsewhere, but then doesn't necessarily believe that because she's on her current salary worth the higher salary at another place, so is scared to apply. And it's an endless cycle of negativity, which if you took the first step, I think would be a huge boost, bigger than you think. And I've sort of rambled and forgotten the question, but yeah, it's
helping you with your mental sort of
so
your strength, your inner strength sort of thing. And you touched on it there. It's a self-belief thing.
Yes. And okay. I'm a big purveyor in therapy as well. I have a therapist, she's wonderful, and sometimes we have got nothing to talk about and we just delve into history or chat about something or feelings, and it really helps sort of set a path forward because you're looking back and helping you sort of figure out why you're low or high, or I think it's really valuable.
Okay, so you're going to recommend therapy?
Yes, therapy, counselling, life coaching, whatever. And again, I found, and I was so lucky because it was the first person I spoke to, and I know people who have gone through a couple of people and still not found the right person, but any sort of whatever you need at the time. So actually she's a counsellor, not a therapist, and it's apparently different, but I just say it's therapy because it's just the easy blanket term. But yeah, whatever you sort of need in the moment to go through your life, I'd say.
Would you say that was a worthwhile investment then?
Yeah, definitely.
In yourself.
And it's not cheap. Mine is £55 a session, and that's 220 quid a month. And it's I now only go once every fortnight, so it's 110. Semantics don't really matter at this point, but that's a lot of money for an hour's chat every week. And so it is a huge investment, and I was lucky enough that I could put the money aside for that. And again, it's about going back into finances because I love finances at the moment, but putting the money somewhere at the beginning of the month when you get paid so that you know you can afford it is really crucial. And really investing, you've talked about this on your podcast, investing in yourself is one of the most important things you can do, whether that be in therapy, counselling, life coaching, learning courses, and definitely putting aside money for that is important, I think.
Okay, going back to university. A lot of your friends were in university, and at that point, you invested a large amount of money, a serious amount of money in your education.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it stops. You stop investing in yourself. And now what you're telling me here is that, no, you're reinvesting in yourself at a different stage of your life in slightly different things, but it's helping you get your thought processes aligned. And, if you've got concerns that maybe, and this is very often the case, it's difficult to share with a loved one what's going on in your head because one, you don't want to worry them necessarily, so having that outlet to somebody else that you can just lay it out, and then they'll just pick out little bits and pieces, a bit like this therapy session that we're going to be having here today. So you have to carry on investing in yourself. And as you say, you mentioned that you allocate the money shortly after payday so that you know that it's there and available in that regard. So what is, and this is a leading question, and it's an obvious leading question because obviously I'm a financial advisor and we've had lots of financial chats over time, but what would be one or two of the significant things that I've got right when I've said to you, try this? What would you say were game changery significant financial things?
So the first is, and I've got two things, and they are similarly tied, but the first one is know your outgoings. Over the years, I've signed up for so many subscriptions, so many little things, and there are just so many things that you don't even think of, and they hit you once a year when you don't expect it, and it is soul destroying. Amazon Prime is a perfect example. Other streaming services are available where if you don't know it's coming, that's £100 now, in a month where you haven't put that aside, and it's really difficult. And then lots of little things that cost £5 or £6, £4 a month, and then they all add up, and then you go, why have I got no money? And then it's because I've got 15 subscriptions to things that I don't use anymore. So going through Experian was another one that I had, and it was really strange. And this is where the woo-woo started coming in. I was no, I don't need this anymore. I'm not planning on getting a mortgage at the moment. I don't need to know my entire credit report. I cancelled it. Later that day on LinkedIn, you posted about removing subscriptions that you don't need, and you used Experian as an example, and it was just so weird that day. But yeah, stuff like that where knowing your outgoings and writing them down and having a clear understanding of how much money you're spending versus your income is important. And then tied to that is budgeting. So everything now I want to buy comes out of my paycheck on the day after. So all my bills, the mortgage payment, any subscriptions that we do want to keep, any credit card payments all come out the day after I get paid, so that what I have left is what I have left. And then I transfer what I have budgeted for spending money onto a separate spending account. And that is my money for the month. And if I spend it all in the first week, then I don't do anything for the next 3 weeks. Usually. There are exceptions, and that's what contingency saving money is for and stuff like that, or credit cards if you're good with that.
Okay, we're just going to, a little shout out for Credit Karma. They offer a free credit checking service, and it's free for life. So I put you onto that, I think. So you can still check your file, and that's a very, very important thing. You need to check your credit file on a regular basis, just to make sure that what the banking world sees about you is actually reflected, in true life.
I had a story where my internet service provider had set up a backup SIM card for the internet, so that if the connection went down, we still had some data in a SIM card in the router. And then 1 month they sold or closed down the mobile SIM department in their company and signed me up for an account with a different SIM card provider. I'm trying to word it very carefully to not call them out. But it was the same month that we swapped providers. because we moved to a new area and there was a better deal somewhere. So we closed our account with the broadband provider, and they didn't close my account with the SIM card provider. So I had a £15 payment that was supposed to be free, but because I'd closed my broadband provider, they didn't pay the SIM card provider, and it defaulted to me. And then I had a missed payment on my credit account for an account I didn't even open because they opened it on my behalf, which was a part of the contract at the beginning and blah, blah, blah. So, and again, like, I wouldn't have known that until I got the letter through saying, oh yeah, we're going to send bloody bailiffs round to collect £15. I was like, are you kidding? So anyway, I called them and they sorted it all out. But like, because I found that on my credit report early, I managed to not get the negative hit from having an account where I haven't made a payment. So yeah, very useful.
Okay, well, couple of things that you've touched on there.
Yes.
I've created a program for the fundamentals on financial services. So it includes a credit report check and getting the, as you mentioned it also there, a base reserve account, I think. What did you call it when you were talking?
A spending account or savings?
Well, it was if you need to delve into an account. So you've got yourself a little
an
buffer
emergency
fund. An emergency fund. I call it a sleep well at night fund or swan fund.
Oh,
okay.
I like that.
So you've got one of those, so sleep well at night. And it's just money that you put aside and you go, right, okay, we're going to tuck that away. We're not going to touch it. It's just if something comes up unexpectedly, we can actually, we're not going to be derailed like your Amazon money coming through.
Yeah.
Now, I, as a financial advisor, have to put my hand up. I signed up for a year ago for something that creates beautiful PowerPoint slides.
Yes.
Annual, because it's cheaper if you buy it annually, and they've just put it through again, and I haven't used it for a year. So now I've got to go through the paraphernalia of trying to get the money back off them.
I have found that the companies, if you message them, are quite good at refunding the money if it's in the first couple of days. And I think it goes along with the 14-day to cancel thing. But I now make a point of cancelling it the second I sign up so that it's not an automatic renewal.
Yeah.
Good tip.
No, good call.
For you.
Good call.
Out there.
Now, for what generation are you technically? You're a millennial, are you?
Yeah, right, Gen Y is that?
Gen Y? I think. Gen Y, is it?
Okay, yeah, because Gen Z's after me.
Okay. So do you think then goal setting is overrated for your generation? Or
no, I think it's underutilised.
Okay.
And, well, yeah, there's a lot you can say on this. So there is a lot of research that suggests things are more expensive comparatively nowadays. So you do have to work harder, but working hard isn't necessarily enough anymore. You have to work harder and smarter, but there are also more tools available, especially things like the internet, that can help. But yeah, it's a very tricky subject because a lot of people just accept that things are more expensive and working hard doesn't get you anywhere. And I don't necessarily entirely think it's true. I just think things are more expensive comparatively, and it is a lot harder, especially starting off.
Okay, when you say starting off, what are you talking about?
So, like, I know a lot of millennials are like, oh, I can't get on the property ladder, and they have to, it's a lot later in life now because you need much more of a deposit compared to what you can actually save. And going to the bank and saying, well, I'm paying £1,500 on rent monthly, but you won't give me a £1,200 a month mortgage when I've proven that I can pay it. It's frustrating. Like, it's stupid because there's lots of rules and regulations in place saying that you need to deposit now and blah, blah, blah. So sort of it is one of those traps where like you're stuck and there's not enough clear and simple advice, I think, out there to help people escape the cycle they think they're in.
It's interesting that they think that they're in. So what you're saying or inferring there is that they're maybe not necessarily in as much difficulty as they think.
Yes.
And there might be a better solution. So what would you say would form a good starting point? Because obviously we've got TikTok, and I despair of the fact that people are taking advice from TikTok, but that's my generation, and I'm a financial advisor, and on TikTok it's unregulated. But anyway, I'll get off my high horse on that. But So it's TikTok and it's Instagram and it's YouTube, and you've got all of these different places in which you can get the info. How do you gather that all together?
So I know how to do it, although I'm not very good at it, but follow people you disagree with.
Follow people you disagree with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, because I don't really know the whole logic and coding behind it, but your algorithm is an echo chamber if you let it be. So if you only follow people who agree with you, you're just going to be told you're right the whole time. And actually, sometimes it helps to have a different perspective. So look for people that you wouldn't necessarily agree with. But for advice, I have followed a lot of financy people, and when I want to learn something, I'll watch lots of videos on it, not just one, and take it as the single source of truth, and find people that disagree with each other. So I've watched videos on debt payments and the snowball method versus the avalanche method. And it is a clear divide on what method is better. And so many people think one way and so people think the other way. And I think they both have their merits depending on your situation and the way you think. So, but it's interesting that people have such an opinion on which one is better when actually it should be based on your circumstances. And this is where I think video content has changed, where people take the extreme view to get farm likes and get attention because that pays. And so they say something that is wrong or completely out there to get likes, and then they're spreading misinformation. And it's or really backing one thing because they know that's what will get them the money. So yeah, following different people with different opinions across the board to do research and using them as a tool to learn, not a single source of truth. It's like you wouldn't go to a library, pick up the first book and read and say, this is clearly 100% true across everything. You would read several books, and the same can be said for content. And I agree, TikTok is not a regulated place for getting content, but it is a good place for getting a lot of quick content if you're just starting out in a learning journey.
Cool.
It's also a good feeder.
Yes. For a foundation. The foundation for your knowledge, and just to get the different contrarian views on things. So what would you say is a successful life to you that the older generations would disagree with?
So I've actually talked about this to my friends, I'd say. So traditionally, you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, you get a spouse, you buy a house, have 2.5 kids, and in that you live a fulfilling life. And I just don't think that boilerplate template works for everyone, but it's what's pushed on you from such a young age. To be successful, you need to not be single, you need to own property, you need to procreate. And it's like, okay, well, what if you don't want those things? Are you a failure? And it's like, well, no, you're allowed to not want those things. You're allowed to want more than those things or different things. And it's one of those things where the narrative still very much, at least as far as I'm aware, is around the traditional route up. And I don't think, and again, it goes back to it makes people feel crappy when they don't have the perfect life because society has told them that what a perfect life looks like. And I don't necessarily think that is the only way to live a fulfilling life anymore. Well, I don't think it ever was. I think there has always been different options and stuff, but it's only now just becoming normal to not want the normal. Yeah.
Okay, so generally speaking now, describe what would be your perfect life, not the,
I would love to see more of the world, and I don't feel it anymore because I think anything's possible, but I felt very trapped. I have a mortgage and a little bit of debt, and I feel very trapped in a 9-to-5. And there are just, again, and I've talked about this with my therapist, counselor, and it's like, well, no, actually, there is nothing I could sell my house and use the equity to travel or buy a smaller place or do the things. But because society has said that you need to own property, it was a very scary thing to think about. Oh, actually, no, I need to stay home and safe and do nothing with my life. And I remember feeling trapped in my old job, and I was like, oh no, I won't find another job. I won't get the right money and I won't get the good income. And sort of actually no, you can have the life you want, and there is a path for everyone to get what they want if they have the right knowledge and can apply it, I think.
And you've got to have the balls as well.
Yes.
To go for it. And obviously, you know that I am going to support you in whatever it is that you want to do, because, you know, that is the nature of our relationship. And obviously, other people have done what it is that you want to do.
Yes.
So it must be possible.
Yeah. That comes up quite a lot as well. It's like, you can do anything anyone else has already done because it's already been done. So you're not limited by that.
The impossibility of it, because it is possible. Okay. So you want to see the world?
Yes.
All right. You want to, you know, everybody's saying, well, you know, obviously being an older generation, I would say you don't really want to be selling your house because it might be difficult to get back on the ladder when you come back. But
there are other things you can do. Like, so we've talked about this before. You rent the house out while I'm away, or make a conceited effort to save up prematurely and have a holiday fund pot, or get a side hustle that pays for that. And that's what a lot of sort of the next generation up from me does, where they've paid off their mortgage, but they both still work because they want holidays and stuff like that. So there are things you can do, and it's very difficult because it's like, oh, I could retire and then enjoy my life, or I could enjoy my life now. And I very much want to enjoy my life now, as everyone does. So actually, no, I'm going to make things happen now rather than fast tracking something to enjoy and wish my life away and only enjoy it when I'm retired.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Absolutely, 100% with you in that regard. But that's sometimes where you need to be or need to have had the conversation with your significant other on what it is that you want to do, because it's back to the diagrammatically opposite, or their concerns about the situation, which we have touched upon in the past, because people are different.
Yes.
If you are identical, it's unlikely that you would be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because there's always yin and yang, you know, and there's like one person's going to be a little bit more cautious and the other one's going to be a little bit more gung-ho, and you've got to, you know, make that balance right. But that's where I think the joint goals come in and the joint discussions come in. So, as you know, we've talked about goals. So when's this going to happen?
When's what going to happen?
Well, when are you going to be traveling around the world?
Well, so I'm not so unrealistic. I've got some credit cards to pay off first that I would like to pay off, and I have a plan for that. It's a very good plan. So in the meantime, we are putting money towards a holiday fund that will let us go away at least once a year. And then when my credit card's paid off, we're going to focus on building more of that and maybe increase it to 2 holidays or 3 holidays. So immediately is when it's going to start, because you should have started yesterday, I guess. Or you can start yesterday. I can't remember the actual saying.
Yeah. What do they say? The best time.
The best time to start is yesterday. That's what I'm thinking of. And so like we've started saving for holiday, and we have a couple
that's a separate fund where the day after payday an amount goes into it. So what is left at the end of the month is what is left at the end of the month, having made that provision.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's the right way to look at things. Now, is there anything that you wish you had adopted a lot sooner than some of the things that you've more recent? You know, what are the things that the youngsters, and when I say youngsters, obviously we're talking relative, should be doing straight away as far as Jason Bennett is concerned, or Jace Bennett, sorry.
It's very difficult to not talk about finances, financial advisor and someone who is financing. So invest in stocks, learn as much as you can from an early age, do a course at uni or just after uni or school, or ask teachers who know a bit, and invest early and utilize compound interest. It's very powerful. And I know it's like one of those things you shouldn't focus on and regret. But yeah, if I'd known how much of, and again, I've only learned because information is so much easier to get access to now that we have the internet, and I'm more interested in bettering myself and learning and reading and researching. And I wasn't in my 20s, but yeah, that investing.
Start early.
Start early.
Start earlier. Yeah.
And there was another thing. So actually, my niece and nephew, we have bought them a money box, and it's got 4 little boxes in it, and it says saving, spending, charity, and investing. And actually, I do remember sitting with you and listening. We were listening to a podcast about 4. Ever since I've had a job, I've been paying into my pension. So little things I've been picked up. I have picked up and I have implemented without really appreciating the effect it's going to eventually have. But yeah, I remember like paying yourself first is a phrase I've heard a lot, and I didn't take it on until sort of recently. And it doesn't necessarily mean pensions, and it means all the other little bits as well. So paying your bills, paying your mortgage, paying your pension, and investing, and putting money aside for holiday and learning, that stuff. But anyway, so back to when we bought them this money box, and we're going to give them a paycheck. We're not going to call it an allowance, or I can't think of the other word. And we're going to call it a paycheck, so it's kind of resonates with them from an early age. And they get to decide how much of it they put in each box in the money box. And we're going to not charge them interest, give them interest if they keep it in the savings box. We're going to take it away and invest it if they put it in the investing box, and kind of teach them the value of charity. And like, or if you do a fundraiser at school, or you want to go to a charity shop and donate the money, that money goes in the charity box, and then you do that and sort of teach them like all the things I wish I knew from a young age. Because why not? And you can just on Amazon buy whatever you need. Other delivery services are available, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you can just get like some really cool stuff, and we're going to make a point, and we're going away this week, and they're going to decorate it and make it their own. And then like they get every month get to look forward to getting a little envelope with some cash in it that they can divvy up
into different places.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Okay, so do you have a big, hairy, audacious goal that you're going for at the moment?
So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I did start off small with my goals, but my bag is I want to be financially free, and I haven't really thought about it too in depth yet, but I know I need to figure out my freedom number. I know I need to put aside more like pots to allocate and blah, blah, like sort of, I know sort of the steps I need to figure out, like, oh, if I've got this much in my pension, this much in my stocks and shares, this much in my savings, then this is how much money I'll have at retirement. And can I retire early, plus my government pension and all that stuff. So I know what I need to do to figure out my freedom number and have the life I want to live, and maybe retire early. But yeah, be financially free before retirement age in the UK is my big, hairy, audacious goal.
Excellent.
And it is quite a big one. I am 36, and imagine like if that's when I'm 45, like that would be crazy.
Wow, that's yeah.
But I think it's possible. I think it's
you
doable.
think it's possible? Oh wow. Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Right.
Why not?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Why not? Why not indeed? You know, why not indeed? So that's good. So it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, financial freedom. I prefer to call it work optional. When is the day that work becomes optional? Because let's say 45, at 45, you've got a whole life ahead of you. Not working, it's not necessarily, great. Being on holiday all of the time costs money, obviously.
Yes, of course.
But it is really a case of knowing that you don't have to work, or knowing that work is optional, because most of the people that I talk to, they're in a position where they're intelligent. Lying on the beach all day long isn't going to work.
No, I know. Yes. And then this is the thing. Work optional is the better phrase, in my opinion, because, I would still work, but I would not be stressed about where I worked or what I was doing. I'd much more sort of enjoy it knowing that it was optional. And the thing is, I love my job. I do something I love doing. It doesn't feel like work. We've talked about this before, but for the benefit of the listeners, I would happily sit and do it all evening. I find my job so much fun. I'm a programmer, and I found it through serendipity. Like a lot of crazy out there pieces. Maybe I'll tell you about it one day. All came together for me to discover that programming was even a career that I love. So yeah, I don't feel like I'm working already, and I'm getting paid to do it. It's great.
Okay, now we had a conversation a little while back, and you sent me a piece of information, and your concern was AI versus, right? You're a coder.
Yes.
You write code, and AI now would seem can do it a lot quicker. So, what are you going to do to combat that?
It's funny you asked that, because yesterday I asked ChatGPT what I can do to get ahead of ChatGPT, and it gave the same answer you did, which was work for the people making it. And it was obviously, like, it's very biased. It said use it every day, and so that you know how it's going, and blah blah blah, because obviously the thing that you're using wants you to use it every day. But yeah, it was become the programmer that programs the AI. Why not? Could be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But what if you're not a programmer? What are people going to do about AI, do you think? I mean, you touched on it earlier in so much as, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants for jobs, whereas it used to be 10. So what's the solution there? As far as you think, what would be the solution for the kids coming through, university and all the rest of it? I mean, a university's actually, you did it. Is it still viable as a thought process, do you think?
Yes, I think so. I know there's a lot of, it's a big buzz word at the moment, and there's a lot of people talking about it, and I'm not necessarily scared of it, and I do want to embrace it, but I find that there are people using it incorrectly, and the way it's growing is quite intimidating. But it's a very effective tool for learning. The problem becomes when people rely on it too much. So a lot of, and I hear stories because I'm the Harvard's teacher, but there are a lot of stories of kids who are just using AI to do the work for them. And that is where it's a bad thing. Whereas I use it if I need something knocked up quickly, and I could just say, oh, do this quickly, and it will do it. But then I'm good enough in my job to analyze what it's done and read it and take it and learn from it and then utilize it, rather than just copy pasting what it has given me on the first iteration. So that's where, like, people need to be sort of educated in, like, using it as a tool that helps them do what they want to do, not a replacement for thinking, which is where it's becoming a very dangerous thing. And again, it's written by people, and it is biased because it only has so much to go on. So if everyone uses AI, everyone will start thinking the same, and then we lose innovation and we lose independent thought. And it's one of those things where you have to use it as a tool that betters your understanding of things, not as a replacement for thinking. But it is a very exciting age to live in.
Yeah, because you've only ever had the internet, really, because I can remember a life before it when things, were...
I think we were teenagers when it came to be a real thing.
Yeah.
Like a big thing. So yeah, and like phones, just always having phones. It's crazy to me that people didn't have phones at one point.
Do you think children's thumbs are getting bigger because they're on the... Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so what does the world need to know about goals and goal setting that we haven't touched on already, according to Jace Bennett, 36-year-old son of mine, who I'm very proud of?
Recently, I ran a half marathon. I'm very proud of myself. However, when I achieved the time goal I had set out for myself, I felt a bit lackluster. And I've spoken to my counselor about this, and I've spoken to you about this, and I've spoken to Mark about this. And what I realized is it didn't focus enough on the journey. It was too much about achieving the goal and not appreciating the hard work, the 3 runs a week training, the rainy runs, the feet hurting, the blisters, the massages and sports massages, and all the training that went into it, the highs, the lows, the weeks off, the PBs along the way, personal bests. And I think a lot of people who have goals aren't really living in the moment and experiencing the journey to the fullest. And when they hit their goal, they are happy for 5 seconds and then worried about the next one, which is good in that they will achieve a lot, but they need to enjoy the journey and the achievements along the way as well. And there is a saying, and it's all about the journey, not the destination. It is true, I think. And I've experienced this firsthand, and I don't regret. I still ran a PB on a half marathon for myself, and I am really proud of the time I got and stuff, but I could have enjoyed the journey along the way and had so much more. And that's just the last 6 months, which is crazy.
Massive lesson. Enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And of course, now you'll be able to adopt that, because I think we're working on getting you a position for a marathon next year.
Yes.
I think you misread my communication to you, because I felt for 1 second that you thought I was going to be running with you in the
So you
marathon.
were. Yeah.
Now, I have completed a marathon. It was a long time ago, and actually now I'm making up excuses for myself as to why I'm not doing it. And interesting. Oh my goodness. To be called out. But no, well done, because you did your sub 2 hours, and we were talking about that sub 2 hour half marathon, and you were quite excited about it. You thought it was going to be tough, and you nailed it out of the park, really, in that regard, with your expectation. And as you say, you didn't enjoy it because you just were concentrating on the destination. So the marathon for next year, you're going to be working on. There's a lot of work involved in doing a marathon.
Yeah, it will be my first marathon, so I'm excited for that. And I also think that the destination will be quite big for that, as well as the journey.
The journey will be massive as well. Okay, so before we bring the show to a close, is there anything the world needs to know according to Jason Bennett?
Just enjoy the journey, not what does the world need to know? Start yesterday, I guess, would be my thing. Enjoy the journey and start yesterday. There's no reason not to.
There is no reason not to. Somebody else has done it already. You can do it.
Yes.
That's got to be the thing, isn't it? Well, Jason, thank you for joining me on the 250th episode of Goals Do Come True.
Congratulations on 250.
Yeah, no, it's crazy what started as a little tiny project chatting to my mates way back when.
I'm on 150, so still a bit of time to go before I get to this one.
A little while. And I really do appreciate that. And thank you for your insights. I think it's, what we picked up on here, some really seriously good lessons, which it's easy for somebody in my position to be giving to people. But, to hear it from somebody of a similar age, and also, I'm going to take some, credit for some of the stuff that you've done. Because you've been I've been subliminally messaging you over the years. But thank you very much for joining me. It's been lovely, and I'm going to see you later. So that's good, because obviously it was your birthday a week or so ago, and mine a few weeks before that. And so we're all going to get together and we'll have a little celebration. Thank you very much.